No, it was, I mean, it's hustling. And so, I mean, especially early on when I would spend the days in the morning just kind of doing BD work and making phone calls, going to lunches, um, putting things in Google Maps saying architects in Dallas and just kind of finding people and cold calling people and tracking them. Like as far as, all right, when's the last time I called them or emailed them and just, and then I nicknamed it BD Tuesdays because I felt like I did a lot of my BDs on Tuesdays kind of going forward because I felt like, all right, Mondays, nobody wants to talk on Mondays. You're starting your week and nobody wants to talk on Fridays. And Thursdays, you're really, I mean, from a deliverable standpoint to architects and all this stuff, you're trying to kind of get everything ready to go out on Friday. And then, I don't know, Wednesday was just hump day. And I was like, whatever, let's make it on Tuesdays. It seems like a good day. It's early in the week, so you still have plenty of time to kind of coordinate things. Yeah, I called it BD Tuesdays and did
I
a
like it.
a lot of work. But then early on, it was, hey, let's do design for hair salons at night. And so come home, have dinner, do all the things with the family, put kids to bed and stuff like that, and say, all right, time for, I guess, third shift at that point, right?
Have you ever wondered how successful architecture, engineering, and construction companies scale their business?
Or have you ever wanted guidance on how to get more growth, wealth, and freedom from your AEC company?
Well, then you're in luck. Hi, I'm Will Forat.
And I'm Justin Nagel, and we're your podcast hosts.
We interview successful AEC business leaders to learn how they use people, process, and technology to scale their businesses.
So sit back and get ready to learn from the industry's best. This is
Building Scale.
Hey listeners, it's Will here. Our mission is to help the AEC industry protect itself by making technology easy. If you've ever listened to our show, then you know that the three pillars of scaling a business are people, process, and technology. So if you suspect technology is your weak link, then book a call with us to see where we can help maximize your company's IT and cybersecurity strategy. Just go to buildingscale.net/help.
Today's guest is Chris Sutton, CEO and founder of Sutton Engineering. He brings over 20 years of experience in the MEP engineering space and has grown his company into a powerhouse. About 9 years ago, he launched Sutton Engineering with a clear focus on mission-critical sector engineering. His firm specializes in supporting environments where uptime, reliability, and precision are everything. Chris is also a husband and father of 3 daughters and brings that same level of commitment and responsibility into the business he leads. And with all that said, Chris, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Justin. Thanks for the intro.
Yeah, absolutely. We said these nice, kind words about you, and we've got, I keep joking, we could probably do 4 hours with you just based upon our pre-call. Like, it's just so much awesome stuff that you're doing, so many connections with EOS stuff, and just a connection that we just talked about of another engineering firm. So it just feels like there is so much connection for us. But let's start with a little bit more of the background. I said those things, but tell us, how did the business start? What got you into the business in general?
Well, honestly, so I graduated in '05, and there was kind of that little downturn, and honestly didn't have a job. And I graduated, was trying to find out what to do, and kind of stumbled into the MEP world. Interviewed with a firm here in town, and got the job. Didn't even know what MEP was at the time. Had no idea in college when I got out, but they did CAD work and worked with buildings. I was like, okay, this sounds cool. And so, yeah, worked there for 9 years, almost 10 years. Learned a lot. It was great. And then had an opportunity. Someone came knock on my door to help start up another, firm at the time. It didn't quite work out. Just, we didn't see eye to eye on a lot of things. And then so why I started my firm, at that point, I didn't have a job. And had my 3 daughters and my wife at home who wasn't working. And I was like, well, I got to figure something out and put food on the table. And so I just kind of started grinding and doing work. And that's at first, yeah, I mean, the mission critical piece, that's 80-90% of my work. That first, the first stop, that's what I did. And then when we first started over here, or started this one up, it was, what can we do? And we were doing like hair salons and a bunch of other stuff. And we did some, car washes and whatever. At that point, it was just kind of starting something. It wasn't really like, hey, I had this grand vision of making this big company. It was more, I have a family to feed. So it kind of spurred up from that 9 years ago. We're now 36 people as today. We got an office here in Plano, Texas, is kind of headquarters, and then we also have one up in Albany, New York. And so, but yeah, a few years ago we really started to make the decision. Hey, what do we want to do? And that's where I kind of started. What am I passionate about? You know, what did I enjoy doing all the years? And so it's like, let's get back to the mission critical world. Not a bad time to kind of go that route. The data center world's kind of everybody probably knows it's kind of a big thing now. And so at that point, I also made a strategic hire. Talked to a guy, met him at a conference, and we just were having a conversation. And it was probably about a 10-second conversation about someone asked him, "Hey, where do you start your business?" I need a good electrical engineer. I was like, I need a good mechanical engineer. Mm-hmm. And so we just started having conversations, kind of going back and forth. And he joined us a little over a year and a half ago. And he's like, "I'm not going to move from New York." I was like, "I don't want you to move from New York. Let's start an office, and you got people up there and connections, and let's start an office up there. Let's rock and roll." And I don't know. I mean, if you'd have told me 10 years ago I'd have a firm and have another office up in New York, some Texas boy have an office in New York, that just seems like it doesn't make sense. But, so why not, right? And it's kind of helped me grow and kind of figure out that's. So we started leaning more and more into mission critical. I mean, last year in 25, 63% of our work was all mission critical.
Real quick, hold on, real quick. You keep saying mission critical.
Yes.
Do you want to just define what that means for the good people out there?
Yeah, good point. Sorry. Mission critical is just is really the data center work, and they call it that just mainly because it's the uptime, the operation of data centers is 24/7. It never goes down, and so kind of got the name mission critical. I'm not sure where it really came from, but that's what it's referring to. So we do the design, full MEP, fire protection controls for data centers. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
No, thanks for the reset. Cause yeah, sometimes I kind of forget, we use acronyms and all this stuff, and you kind of forget about that sometimes.
It's always the worst. We find this in IT and cyber too. It's like everything has an acronym, and it's like, what is that? What does that even mean? It's like, what it means, but you actually don't know what the letters actually stand for, which is always a funny thing, because you're like, oh, I know what that is, but I actually don't know what it actually says. So you had the very much the entrepreneur, like, if I don't figure something out, I can't feed myself and my family. So it's the ultimate motivator, right? Like it is you fly or you die, effectively, and in the plane reference, right?
Yeah.
So you find some jobs that are like, hey, who is going to pay me to do my work, and let me get that going. How did bringing on that first set of person or people, or what did that look like?
No, honestly, it was kind of a little nerve-wracking, right? Because it's like, all right, it's one thing to kind of have yourself, because you just whatever, taking care of yourself. But now I feel like every time I hire someone, I don't have this mindset of I'm just hiring the person. I'm not hiring the family, whoever that's behind them, right? I mean, if they're married, if they have kids, I'm supporting this. So the first hire, it was exciting, but also kind of like, oh my gosh, we're turning into real business. It's not like a sole proprietor, like just a one or two man shop. Like we're
no, I'm becoming an adult. This is bad.
Yeah. It's and really a lot of the time when we grew early on was more, hey, let's grow, but there was no, like, I don't know, this great vision of what we were doing. It was more do work. I mean, that was the whole mentality, like just do work, get job in, do work, and get paid for it, and do it again. And so
how are you finding work? Like, because especially in the early days, like you were going after everything. It wasn't mission critical, even though maybe there was an idea of like, I want to do mission critical. That doesn't just land on your lap.
No, it's hustling. And so, especially early on when I would spend the days in the morning just kind of doing BD work and making phone calls, going to lunches, putting things in Google Maps, saying architects in Dallas, and just kind of finding people and cold calling people and tracking them. Like, as far as, all right, when's the last time I called them or emailed them, and just and then I nicknamed it BD Tuesdays, because I felt like I did a lot of my BDs on Tuesdays kind of going forward, because I felt like, all right, Mondays, nobody wants to talk on Mondays. You're starting your week, and nobody wants to talk on Fridays. And Thursdays, you're really, I mean, from a deliverable standpoint, architects and all that stuff, you're trying to kind of get everything ready to go out on Friday. And then, I don't know, Wednesday was just hump day. And I was like, whatever, let's just make it on Tuesdays. It seems like a good day. It's early in the week, so you still have plenty of time to kind of coordinate things. Yeah, I called it BD Tuesdays and did
I
a
like it.
lot of work. But then early on, it was, hey, let's do design for hair salons at night. And so come home, have dinner, do all the things with the family, put kids to bed and stuff like that, and say, all right, time for, I guess, third shift at that point, right? Because you did all the first, you did the family stuff, and now it's third shift, and you just grind, and that's really getting out started.
All right, so that's the beginning stages. Now you're at 36 people, so obviously lots of change since that.
Yeah.
BD Tuesdays 3-shift grind that you were rolling. So obviously taking on those families, not just those people, but that's a lot of responsibility. How do you take those people and nurture them and lead them to get the most out of them, right? So obviously it is, I want you to succeed in the big picture of the company succeeding, but I want you to succeed. And how do you get the best out of them? What are you doing to essentially train them and lead them in the best way possible?
Yeah, honestly, I feel like at first I did that poorly. I don't know if there's a word worse than that. I mean, I did not do that well at all. Because again, like, we didn't have the vision. It was more of just doing the work, and really started about 4 years ago now. I started joined a group called Vistage, which is kind of the CEO mentor group, which has just been amazing from helping spend time with other CEOs, not in the industry, but just other CEOs. Because let's be honest, every business basically boils down to the same thing. You have people issues and money issues, and you can probably put it in one of those two buckets. And so having those guys to kind of do life with and do business with, have pour into you, but also just have leadership speakers come in and stuff like that. That's been huge. So I found, I'm not a betting guy usually, but I'll bet on myself and find ways to invest in myself. And I think that was one of the big ones. And then a little over a year ago, joined Strategic Coach as well. And so now why not just do more coaching? And so it's
for those that don't know Strategic Coach, I think that's Dan Sullivan.
That is. Yeah. I got hooked on reading. So there was the Who Not How, Gap in the Gain, and 10x is easier than 2x. I think I'm read them in a backwards order. I read 10x first, and then I went back to Who Not How, and then Gap in the Gain. And so it really got me hooked on that whole idea and that mentality of finding the right people, having my favorite one was probably Gap in the Gain, just for the mindset of like not. People live in the gap because they'll always think so negative about things and forget about, hey, look back. And that's, Coach is really good. I go on every 9 days. You kind of look back, hey, what were the wins? What did I accomplish over this past quarter? And you realize, all right, wow, I actually did a lot. I actually accomplished a lot. And maybe you didn't feel like it, but no, you look back, man, what are the wins? What are the personal wins? What are the actual wins for, the company, people within the company, stuff like that. So it's kind of changes your mindset for sure. So
we frequently have that problem. U.S. companies, when we have our U.S. quarterly, our leadership team, we sit together and we're like always like, we wanted more. Like we always have this like, why didn't we do more? Why didn't we get more out of the thing? But then when you look at what happened, it's like, you did a ton. But like, it's a mentality thing of like, you have to see it through the gain eyes compared to the gap eyes.
Absolutely. Yeah. There's so many of us like, oh no, I didn't hit my revenue target. No, but you you increased what you did last quarter. Like, so or last year or whatever, it's like, that's a win. And so no, you missed it by 5%. Okay. It's not a fail. Like, look back at what you actually accomplished over time. So that was probably my favorite book. But then like being in coaches, I mean, that's really finding ways to help pour in and help organize things, has kind of been the game changer of, and here I am reading books and, all kinds of things now, which I hated reading in high school and college and stuff like that. And now I read, my daughter makes fun of me. I said, you want to read one of my books? She's like, no, you read boring books. I'm like, okay, well.
Boring for now.
Yeah, boring for
maybe
now.
Later.
Yeah, exactly. So,
So you obviously have influence from Dan Sullivan. So Vistage strategic coach. Were there repeated themes? Were there themes that started coming up as you were on your journey of learning?
repeated themes. I mean, I think it started to become more like, all right, it's strategic code first and focused a lot on the gap and the gain changing mentality, but it's also, I think they focused on like finding the who's and finding the right people for the right seats, which again kind of pours back into that EOS, which you brought up too, which we also run EOS now because honestly, that might have been the first book that I read that reading Tractions. I mean, it's a great book, but it's probably one of the driest books, but I thought it was like the best thing I'd ever read because I was like starving for some kind of organization to a company. And I didn't know what I was looking. And I read it. And I geeked out over the book. I was taking notes on it, putting in OneNote, like trying to like, all right, let's do this. So, and trying to self-implement it. And, you know,
How'd that go?
Been there.
Yeah.
it was one of those, it worked-ish. And, but now we have a implementer now, who's just kind of, now everything's like, okay, now we're actually using 90 IO and like all this stuff. And now it's way more organized. Our L10 meetings are just, way more productive, on point. We stay on track. We actually talk about things we should talk about instead of just like, ooh, squirrel. So it's that was probably the book that really kind of, all right, put some foundation to it, right? And just help organize things.
What's another book that put a lot of foundation on the things you're doing? I mean, I know you have a ton of books, but like,
yeah,
what's the other book that like, man, this is the thing that like frequently we talk about Traction EOS books, is obviously run an EOS. A book outside of that, for us creating super fans, who we had Brittany Hodak on the podcast before, and it was one of those shifts. It's like, it's a business shift. It's just like, oh, we need to operate this way. Like, it's like the veil has been pulled, over the eyes or removed from the eyes. And then you're just like, oh, I'm seeing things a lot clearer now after this book.
Yeah. So I think one of my favorite books, and it makes not a lot of sense, it seems like, for an engineer to read it, but my wife turned me on this book. Like there's even an episode on Netflix, called 7 Days Out. There's episode 2. But it's all about, 11 Madison Park, which is one of the, restaurants in New York, the number one restaurant, but the book's called Unreasonable Hospitality by Will Guidara. And it is a fabulous read. He actually now tours and does conferences and stuff like that, but it's about a restaurant trying to become the best. And just, it's the relentless idea of how to be like, just bring hospitality. And it makes a lot of sense when you're in the, hospitality, like restaurant, hotels, and that kind of world, but it's like you're into that B2C world. Like, well, why can't it be done for the B2B world? Why does it have to be done just for the customers? Like when you're, serving people at a restaurant. But just his stories, the unrelentless of it, just he's there to serve food, but I mean, they made an experience out of it. I mean, they made it to where they knew who was coming in. They had, they probably stocked them on, they stocked them on Instagram and Facebook, whatever. So they already knew what they wanted, but then they hear people that, it was snowing and they're talking, the daughter was like, oh man, I've never seen snow and all that stuff. And the family's, but next thing you know, there's a black Suburban with sliding stuff taking them off to Central Park, to go. I mean, so that had nothing to do with dinner. I mean, absolutely none whatsoever. I mean, he hired dream weavers, is what he called it, to actually think about that. And so for us, I feel like that started to become like, what's our why? I think that's a question people can struggle with. And it's like, and it's such an easy question, like, what's your why? But then like you sit on it for a little bit, like, no, why do we do it? And like, originally it's, well, we're an MEP firm. Okay, but what do you do? Well, we design stuff. We design MEP drawings for building data centers, stuff like that. That's what we do. And so it's like, they didn't sit. It's like, I don't know, what makes you unique? Well, I don't know, that's what we do. And this has really kind of put some meat to it, because it's like, all right, no, we want to be able to take care of people. And it's not, we're not looking for that client. We're looking for the customers. We're looking for people that actually we can do business with for a long time. We can pick up the phone. They have questions. It's not about a project. It's like, man, I got this weird idea, and they want to pick up the phone and call us. Like, we want to be the first phone call for that, right? But it pours out, and how we respond to people. We want to make sure we're responding to people quickly. People get responses within 24 hours, even if it's like, hey, we're working on it or something like that. It just doesn't go It's none of this, not my problem. We're there to support each other. We don't like lone wolves, because we want people that are actually going to be there to support each other. And um, if someone sees someone just struggling on a project, not going to make a deadline, they're there to, not even being asked, like they're there to help each other out. That's the idea. Because at some point, if you're the one struggling this week, guess what? Next week, your buddy might have the deadline, and you're the one now like needing help, and he's there to help you out. And so it's how we handle challenges. There's going to be challenges in everything we do. Maybe not every day, but maybe not every week. There's always going to be challenges in what we do. And so how do you do it? How do you work together? And, we don't really want to see these as just kind of deliverable check the box. Like, it's more of how to connect, make those connections. And then
yeah. Can I pause you there for a second?
Yeah.
You gave some internal examples
Mm-hmm.
that totally makes sense. What about external examples?
Yeah.
Do you have? We
So
would love to hear those.
It's some of those you hear when clients are, maybe they're struggling, maybe they lost someone, right? And it's the simple things, like just sending them a care package, right? And those are the easy things, right? We want to be there for them when they're, we sent someone, honestly, it was not even a client, not even an employee, but just a friend. And, we'd love for me to maybe be and come over at some point, but his grandmother passed away. Well, we sent him, I forget what it's called, but it was basically soup, and you send up soup to it, and he just had like all this homemade soup for like a week. We find other clients that, something like that also happen, or they also celebrate. Maybe they got a big promotion. So now we're sending a nice bottle of whiskey to someone because they got a big promotion. I mean, that's something to celebrate. We want to celebrate with them too, but we want to be there too if we hear other things going on. So just, I don't know, it's finding those ways, just kind of that extra touch, right? And it's not doing it to, hey, remember me. It's more of, no, we're just happy for you, and we want to celebrate those things. We want to be there for you to, and understand that life happens too. This is, you get the people that want to live to work, or you work to live. I'd rather be the latter, and we want to be able to make sure people understand, like, hey, this is awesome, but there's a friendship that we want to create too outside of this.
Yeah, the human side of it.
Yes.
Not just the dollars in business.
Because we'll grind and do all kinds of crazy hours, stuff like that at times, and so there's got to be that other part to it.
Mm-hmm.
You talked a little bit about figuring people out, and that wasn't necessarily your strong suit in the beginning. I don't think it's anyone's strong suit in the beginning. Just disclaimer, right? So thank you for the vulnerable share. How did you get past it? How did you get through it? And what are you doing now to figure out right people, right seat?
Yeah. So, I mean, some of the stuff, we leaned into Culture Index, which has been a great tool for us just to understand how people think. It helps us also put people in the right seat and maybe communicate. So maybe we understand now people, how they, if you get someone with a certain profile, and I pick on my business development guy all the time, and he'll probably hit me for this one, but he doesn't, I mean, he went to school for a business degree, but his personality is way better for an outside sales guy than an engineer. And so if you put him as engineer, he's going to hate life. But if you put an engineer in his role being outside sales, let's be honest, most engineers, like, I don't know, I'm a functioning introvert is what I call myself. And so you put that engineer in the sales guy, and he's going to be like, oh my gosh, like, just put him in a room with 100 people. He doesn't know anybody. He's going to sit in the corner and probably hate life for that couple hours, versus put the business development guy. He knows half the room by the time thing's over. And so it's finding their people. It's trying to find their superpower, and how do you lean into some of those things? And now, just in coach, I feel like there's so many different personality tests, but they all find different parts of it. And it's like that. They said in coach, like, it's an iceberg, right? Like, one of these might show you like the top piece, but then all of a sudden now there's one like there's Kolbe, and there's print, and all these other things now that just like, oh my gosh, someone might tell you more, show you more what's underneath the water for the iceberg, right? Versus just like what sticks out of the water. So
underlying motivations. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. Cause when we took Kolbe for our leadership team, it was very eye-opening. It wasn't necessarily like personality. It was more of like how you operate as a person. And it was like, oh, like when you're talking to somebody that has like a high, needs high information or high detail, compared to somebody that doesn't, it's like, oh, how you then communicate with each other. You have to understand that like they're looking for this and you're looking for this, and like you got to meet in the middle somewhere. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult to communicate.
Absolutely. That's what I found. Even just like, oh my gosh, like me and my buddy were both craftsmen in the Culture Index world, and then we both did Kolbe, and like it's completely different. He said, what? And I was like, well, it makes sense. Like, you start thinking about things. So he's a big fact finder, and I'm a huge follow through guy. But my quick start's like a 1.
Which is baffling to me considering you started your own business. But,
Yes.
sometimes situational, I need to survive, can do some things for you.
But I will follow through on everything, and that's kind of what I lead with. And that's when it's like, oh, well, that makes sense.
Just to compare, I'm an 8.
Yeah.
When it comes to quick start, and I think my follow through is like a 2.
which I love the explanation they gave too about quick start. It's like, all right, one's gonna walk up to a cliff, and they're gonna like, oh, there's a path. I can walk that path all the way down. Maybe I'll get a couple of scrapes, whatnot. Then like an 8 and 9, they don't even walk up the cliff. They just run off the cliff. There's no parachute. They'll figure it out on the way down how they'll land safely.
Hopefully, that's the game plan.
Usually,
I was like, that's a great explanation. my Vistage coach is a 9, so that's great.
All right.
Oh, man. Okay.
You mentioned the not pivot per se, but the more intentional focus this year for the critical mission critical work. So what made that decision this year? Like, what was what said like, what? We started hair salons and we started car washes and we did a lot of things in between, but now I'm back to what I was doing, at the first place. So what made the decision to say, okay, hey, this is who we are. This is where our pivot goes.
Honestly, I think a lot of it was just the being able to be an engineer. And I mean, I'll probably say a few things that'll ruffle some feathers of architects. But
not mine. I'm not an engineer, so it's totally fine.
Yeah. But I mean, it allows us, to work on cooler projects. I mean, engineers now at this point, that for a data center, I mean, that's the key component, right? Like we're center stage on this versus you work for an architect doing a hair salon or a hotel or office building, whatever. It's, the big thing is the architect. How does it all look? How's it all, not how it functions. And we're more of a commodity in that world than we are, center stage and design, but we also get to design really cool things. We're designing, 250 megawatt data centers. I mean, that's huge.
That's awesome.
And so I don't know. I think the ability to actually, when we saw that there was 63% of our business at 25 was nothing but data centers, like, all right, we got traction. Our name's getting out there. We had several good conversations with potential future clients coming up, and it's like, this is what we want to do. It's fun. We get to work on really cool projects, and let's just go. And so that's really kind of that pivot point. And now, I mean, heck, there's sometimes we still work for the architect, but there's also times now they work for us. We end up being prime on a couple of projects, which is different.
That is.
And
why don't you talk about that difference? Actually, that's actually a good point. Why don't you talk about the difference of being you the prime on the project versus, because that doesn't happen that often.
Right. I mean, in the commercial world, that doesn't happen. I've never seen that happen. And so I mean, it's definitely a little more challenge because you're the ones now responsible for things. You're also kind of guiding the project a little bit, so we got to make sure we have project managers that can help manage all aspects of things. And so a lot of MEP firms they'll have engineers be PMs, and I'll say it right now, I think engineers suck at being PMs. I'll go on record and say that because I was a PM at times, but what I focused on was the electrical side of things, not the mechanical side of things. Maybe I'd focus on the schedule a little bit, stuff like that, but it's easy then to go to your discipline. So our project managers are not engineers. We have project managers, project coordinators, and they are business degrees, usually really well organized. They keep track of the projects. They help push things. They take the notes. I mean, engineers, they suck at taking notes and all the other things too. And so we let those engineers be what we call like a tech lead or a lead engineer. And so those engineers are on the calls with the PM so they can answer the technical questions and not just leave the PM on an island. So they're like, oh, I'll get back to you. No, they can get an answer right then and there. But then that tech lead can actually go back and give the engineers that information too. So those PMs are a big piece of kind of being the prime as well. So we got to potentially coordinate with whoever else is underneath it, if the architect's working for us, structural, whoever. And so it's a different skill set now too versus. But one of the other interesting thing is we also now control, invoicing and getting paid and all that kind of stuff. And so relying on an architect, and we had some experiences in the commercial world where we had a client who just hadn't been paying for, I don't know, I think we had stuff that was over a year old. Ooh. And it was just, and I don't know, when you're an engineer and you're the kind of the bottom of the totem pole in the commercial world, like you don't want to, I don't know, ruffle feathers. You're like, oh, I don't want to, if I call and ask for money or whatnot, like everybody's scared to talk about money and stuff like that. Oh, I might lose a client. You don't want to upset him and stuff like that. And I just finally got to the point. It's like, no, like you're treating me like a bank. And so I sent him new invoices that had finance charges on it. I was like, oh God, this could get really bad. And he did not like the idea. Sent it to the clients, and they're like, we didn't like the idea that you're saying we're treating you like a bank. I was like, well, you are. You haven't paid me in a year.
It's been a year.
Yeah, that's a bank.
That's a bank.
Or a credit union or whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, there was actually, I heard it on another podcast too, of them talking about that. That kind of gave me the courage. Like, all right, just go do it. And it was actually kind of funny. They put a AR playlist together to kind of amp you up, and it just had, songs on there like "Bitch, Where's My Money" and a bunch of other stuff like that, just rap songs. It was like, all right, cool. I'm just gonna get geared up, and then I just make the phone call, and that's what in the commercial world, that's what you send an invoice out, and you might see it. I mean, hopefully it doesn't take a year, but I mean, those were some of the things we're dealing with. It's like, this is just ridiculous. You're treating us like we're just, it's a race to the bottom, I feel like sometimes on the commercial side of things. And that's where it's like, this is just not the game we want to play. We want to actually be respected for what we do, not be questioned like you over-engineered something or treat us like we don't know what we're doing. And that's what we got treated like a lot. So now we're actually get to sit at a table with people who actually respect what we do.
That's a great reason to pivot. And obviously so today's the end of April. So when the recording comes out, it'll obviously be after that. What has been, first quarter in a month look like for this pivot?
Q1 this year was the best quarter we ever had. And
that's generally a good sign.
It's a good way to start a year. And Q2 looks like it'll probably be better than Q1.
And that's awesome.
So we got some really great relationship with some clients. We have continued to grow, and we got an amazing staff. And that's the other thing too, is like I keep telling everybody, this is not something I did. This is something putting a bunch of people together that can actually, make all this work. This is not of me. This is just an idea, and I try and put people and bring people on the bus along the way. And so the bus is just getting bigger. I think we're onboarding 12 people the next 45 days.
Wow. Jeez.
And some of those are interns, but they still got to get onboarded. Yeah, and I think 8 of them happen in one day.
Oh, geez, that's a bus. You just rolled in the short bus and just dropped them off.
Yeah, so it's gonna get interesting. But we got an amazing group here, and just my office manager and my EA, they've been working, like they already have a plan in place, like how they're on board, like what they can do together. So just they've been trying to figure it all out. So it's not like it's going to be this chaos when they show up. So I mean, it's going to be fun. We're growing. We got a new office that we're going to be moving into here in about a month. So I just hope there's still enough room to continue to grow. So.
Wow. Thinking back to, I don't have a job and I need to find some money, to bigger, multiple offices, now bigger office at the headquarters, where you're knocking on the door of 50 people there. I think that math's right. Yeah. Wow. Unbelievable. So you mentioned EOS, right? So you run an EOS. That's obviously a big structure of what you put in place. How has that helped with the structure and the aligning of the business? Like what have you found to be like, man, like we tried to self-implement this and things got slightly better, but then you got an implementer and it's like, oh, this is why it's so powerful.
Yeah, there was just this realization too when we're sitting in the one of the first sessions, and the implementer goes, all right, ask the two other people in leadership were Nick and John, and they're like, what's the vision of the company? And I can't answer. So, and both of them are like, well, we think we kind of know. I was like, oh, suck. Like, that's like this. Okay, well, cool. I mean, it was this realization. Okay, well, then this will help put clarity to it. And then, so even when we rolled out it to the company, I asked, hey, what does everybody think the mission of the company is, or the vision of the company is? And, several blank stares, a couple of guesses here and there. It's like, okay, see, this is why we're doing this, to make sure that we all understand, we all are aligned, so we can work together to achieve great things. Because I mean, other great books, The Hedgehog Effect, from Good to Great. I mean, being laser focused and everybody kind of understanding what's going on and finding that unique ability to where we can all just go crush it. Then that's a great thing. But how can you be laser focused if not everybody understands the playbook we're playing? And so I think that's been a huge thing from a clarity standpoint of kind of putting all that together.
Real quick on the hedgehog effect, and like laser focus. Do you want to explain a little bit more on like why it's called, excuse me, the hedgehog effect?
Oh, I hope I do it justice. But yes, so I mean, the idea is kind of finding, what are you just really good at, and what is the firm really good at, and don't try to be everything to everybody. What is it you do well at? And that's where I think us just saying, hey, we're going to lean into all things mission critical and just be top to bottom, this is what we do, then we're getting rid of some of the distractions. And some of those other jobs were just distractions at that point. If we focus on one type of product or one type of project, then we can be great at it and not just okay at it. Like we want to be like one of our things is we might not be the biggest MVP firm ever. I'm okay with that, but we could be the best. I mean, that's like, we want to be the one where we just take care of the clients that we just want to work with, and we deliver great product. We deliver a coordinated set of drawings, and we just have a great relationship with those. So yeah, maybe we'll never be bigger than Jacobs or anything like that. I'm fine with that.
You also said mission critical, and I want brought it up multiple times. Are we talking like Meta sized, Meta and Amazon, or what size like data centers are we talking about here? Just to give people like perspective of like, what is it you're working on? Where do you feel like your bread and butter is?
People, I mean, hear numbers and they don't understand like kind of what that means. And so actually, people hear gigawatt sites and 500 megawatts and all this other stuff. Unless you're in the industry, like, it doesn't make a lot of sense to you. So, I heard a guy about a year ago, maybe, kind of put it this way. There's a city in Tyler, which is kind of East Texas. It's a decent little city, but to operate that entire city takes about 300 megawatts, and that's all lights. That's street lights and buildings and homes, everything. That takes about 300 megawatts to run the city, right? So and that's over, I don't know, I don't remember. There's several 100,000 people in Tyler, and so you have that, and now all of a sudden people want to build these 500 megawatt data centers, and then they want to put them like all right next to each other. I mean, that's like the size of an entire city, squished it on, put it on, and then that's like the other example we put into taking the Cowboy Stadium, which can sit like 100,000 people, but now instead of making 100,000, make it to where they can sit like 1 million people, like just 10xing the thing, and just and then you put 5 stadiums next to each other. So now think about all the traffic flow and stuff like that, or just if people were getting in and out of that, like just that would be insane. Well, now do that from a power standpoint. So yeah, so some of the projects we worked on last year, we worked on a small one for a hospital that was 500 kW. Up to we have, a project that has a campus that's a gigawatt. So we have everything in between, so we have several that are in the 50 megawatts, 100 megawatts, 150. So yeah, they're for what you're calling Meta and all that stuff. It's called the hyperscalers. I mean, the AWS, Meta, Google, Microsoft, all those guys. And so, yeah, they're big in building big stuff. And then you have all the guys that are the colo people, providers that kind of help build those things. And then people come in like that and rent them out.
So you're essentially building things that need enough power to power a small city. So that's all.
100% we are. And I mean, that's the fun part is I don't know, it's, every now and then I want to give a big old Tim Allen grunt from, Home Improvement, like just the amount of power. Yes. So yes, because like the amount of power you get to play with, but it's crazy. Just, used to a 2 megawatt data center was a big thing, back when I first started in 2006. Now that's a row in a data center. And I mean, that's
wow.
The amount of stuff they're getting in a rack right now is just insane. Racks used to be maybe 1,500, 2,000 pounds, getting to 3,000 pounds. Now they're 6,000 and conversations going up to like 9,000 pounds. And so just
holy cow, that's like a manufacturing floor density. Like,
oh yes,
that is density that you only hear like in the manufacturing world, like as far as like CNC machining and stuff like that, or like big monster 300-ton presses and stuff like that. Like you don't get that density almost anywhere else.
So, I mean, used to it was like a 5 kW rack. Now it's 150. I mean, like they're just, it's getting crazy. And now, and the conversations of how far they're going to go. I mean, it's what's changed in the data center world the past, I'd say 3 years is really just kind of, everybody knew there was a hockey stick coming, but like it's even steeper than people were thinking and quicker.
It's almost wrapped around.
Yeah, it's insane.
If that made any graph
sense,
it would be wrapped around.
Justin, if you have a hockey stick that wraps around, I feel like you might need a different hockey stick. So
yeah, it's been a bit. So you had mentioned obviously the impact you feel like you have on not just your people but their families. Also, the things you're building has massive impact on tons and tons and tons of people. What is that part of the rah-rah of the company? I romanticize things. I get that. Like I have a deep love for construction because I feel like, or I know that no business exists without it. If you work from home, somebody built that house. Like there's only you have to start with construction. There's no reality that any business, any restaurant, anything you do exists. We don't live in caves anymore, right? So for me, I get very, like I said, romanticize this idea. Is that also part of the ethos at Sutton?
Yeah, I think some of it too is whatever we get to do, we're changing the landscape of a city, right? Now we want to do it. Some people have this whole NIMBY mentality of data centers in general, but how much I don't think people realize like how much you do in a given day goes through a data center. Almost everything we do now, like you can't get in your car and not turn the nav on or something like that, it's going through a data center. Like something is going through. I know people want to call it, it's the cloud, it's up there. No, it's actually like this. It's yes. Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry, you're wearing a digital watch.
Glasses, you got everything.
Everything's going through. I mean, heck, us doing this call is going through a data center, right?
Correct.
So it's also now just the integration of everything we do now. And so helping be a part of that, but also trying to be a good steward of some of those things too. Like, how do we do it? How do we do it well? I mean, how do you make it things as most efficient as you possibly can? But also just educate people. Like some people just are scared of data centers, and it's like, of course, they'll complain about it on Reddit too, which is really ironic.
Which is through a data center.
So, yeah.
I mean, you are preaching to the choir here. We do help with those pieces.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
The end product is like where we take over.
Yeah.
After the end product, that's where we take over.
Yeah, exactly.
So, you're totally speaking to the choir here. There was something else that I wanted to ask about, which was you'd said that you're headquartered in Texas, but then Albany. Okay, you're gonna have to explain that one. Why? How? Like, why Albany, and why is it growing over there too?
It's so weird how Albany became this hotbed of mission critical engineers for some reason. I mean, it started back with like EYP Mission Critical and some other people that started. And then there was a company called KW that really started, and that's where this engineer, Nick, is his name, and he lives up in Albany, and he's the one I met at that conference. And there's just they grew and grew and grew and just became really known for kind of what they do. And then just there was opportunity to kind of have a conversation with him. He was ready to move on. That KW had sold several years ago, and he was just ready to make a move. And like I said, so it was more just had an opportunity. I didn't really. He's like, man, if I move, you're gonna have to pay for alimony and child support. Like, I don't know. One, I'm not. No, I'm about family. I want you to stay with. I don't want you to get a divorce because like I want you to stay up in New York because, you have reached to other people that I don't. But also like that's home for you. Like stay home. So yeah, that's really kind of that's art. And so it's just for whatever reason, there's a bunch of people up there that's what they've done. And they worked at all these other firms up there, going back for, I don't know, a couple of decades at this point.
Interesting. It's interesting where the concentration of those things occur, and maybe you have a better understanding of that than I do. Certainly, I minimally, maybe at least you see a little bit more of the pattern.
And the funny thing is, it's not like we have an office there because there's like clients or projects up in upstate New York. Like we have there's no projects in New York. I mean, we have stuff in anywhere from Oregon to Florida to Texas and everywhere else between them, right? And so it's not necessarily, I see you can have an office if you have a client that says, hey, I need you to have an office down here so you can support someone. Okay, that makes sense. But a lot of times it's where can I find talent and just put an office so people can congregate around each other and work together. And so, we might be two offices, but we're one company. So we work together very cohesively, which has been a big deal. I mean, how we work on projects, how we communicate. I mean, like after COVID and using Teams, stuff like that's been kind of a game changer for everybody. But it's how we work, and now we just try and do things better and more efficiently as we possibly can.
Awesome. Well, what on the tech side? Because obviously, what you do is design and all Revit and things like that. But what on the tech side are you doing to help with the growth?
I mean, we also have a CS guy, a computer science guy on staff, and so we try and find ways. How do we take one click or take something that might take 10 clicks or 100 clicks down into one or two? And so we try and automate as much as we possibly can, just internally, and just to make things more efficient and help streamline things. If we can find tasks that takes hours to do and it turns into 5 minutes, we love to try and find those ways and just make things more efficient. And some of the stuff is just, all right, some of the stuff just is tedious, and we want engineers to do engineering things, right? Instead of like, ooh, this is not engineering. It's you counting things and doing things like that. So it's not a good use of their time or brain at that point, like, right? So we if we can find things, and that's it's funny. I know y'all what y'all focus on, but really the three things I try to roll into the year with three things I want to focus on every year. And for first one was automation. Just continue to try and push it because AI is here. If you're not using it, then you're gonna get left behind. And so really been pushing that. The other one is just helping figure out how to train leadership better and just train people better. So like people, and I just lost the other one. Dang it.
Sometimes that happens. This happens to me all the time. Things that I absolutely know I know, and then it's just like,
Oh,
gone.
it's our process, right? And that's, I mean, some of it's just also just we have bringing on so many people. Like we have a lot of processes, but some of them, they're documented okay. Some people know them. A lot of it's in people's heads. So now we're just trying to really make sure they're documented and so they can be followed by all, right? That's the big deal, is making sure that it's out of people's heads and it documented to where it's either on a PDF or searchable or something like that, so people can actually all see it, and it's got a better training program. So we've been really working on that too. That's been big for us this year.
Well, interesting. You mentioned process and automation, and then the people side. Those all go together, right? You can't automate anything if you don't have process documented, right? Like there's not, and you can't train people to do a thing if there's no documented process of what you want them to do. So what are some of the things that you have been able to document and automate with this push towards those three ideas?
Yeah, I mean, some of it we've used Monday.com for a long time now, probably 7 years. I mean, we adopted it early. And so that's helped a lot just from organizing and putting processes in place. But now it's some of the process. We just have things of like, how do you track a project? How do you know what a QA/QC process looks like? How do you know when to turn things over and when people are reviewing it and getting it done? But we also put all things in there from tracking projects and proposals, tracking, cards in there too for how we're doing as a team each week to make sure we're delivering things on time. And so all that's there, but now it's like, all right, well, how do we make sure that's all documented so people know when to flip tiles and do all the things? And so some of that, there's not a lot of automation there, but the automation is really kind of in the rig of plugins and whatnot. And then, and then like I said, the people, and just really it's trying to find ways to be more intentional and do one-on-ones with leadership, I'm actually sending them to another leadership deal within Vistage too, that they're working on, just to kind of get some other coaching outside of me. Cause I want them to hear from other people and other be in a room with other people thinking the same way. And so, just trying to pour into people. And then, the automation piece is just every day trying to find something new of what's going on. I mean, heck, I just came back from coaching. Everybody was talking about Claude Co-work. That's the big new one right now that everybody's just kind of geeking out over. And I'm like, my head was just spinning. I wanted to leave coach early just to go sit in my hotel and just kind of play with code work or co-work and just see what it could do. I think that's
word to the wise. It can do a lot. Just also maybe treat it like a very naive but smart intern. That's how I would treat it.
Okay. Yeah.
So if you give it instructions, how you intended it might not be how it gets interpreted. And so for anyone that's listening out there, this is your warning. This is your one and only. Well, there might be warnings in the future, but
warn them a ton.
Probably. Yeah, that's just my job. May delete something. May send out massive emails that you did not intend to. Depending on what you connect, and typically it asks for not one permission but all the permissions. And so what you give a permission to has unintended consequences. So you are giving it an extraordinary amount of power that people do not realize. It's great when it works and you know how to essentially talk to, right? There's a social side to this. You are essentially talking and someone is interpreting. Someone or something is interpreting. How you think of things and how it or they think of things might be a little bit different. So just understand that garbage in, garbage out, and whatever's in between, it will get misinterpreted. And if you have unintended consequences, look at yourself as the user of who's giving those instructions. Just like if you had a real life intern
Mm-hmm.
Right? And then you grab your hair and you go, and why did you think that was it? And then they give you a legitimate explanation. You're like, well, I guess that makes sense.
Yeah, because I told you to.
It's the nuances that that you don't say then that's the difference. It reminds me of if you ever watch Silicon Valley, Guilfoyle has the AI and it like erases all their code. And it was like, well, I told it to like make, what's the easiest path forward? And the AI was like, well, the code's so bad, you should just delete it all. And that's what it does. So it's like, it did what you wanted it to do theoretically. But
yeah. No, that show is so far ahead of its time. It's crazy.
I know. It's so awesome.
Yeah.
Awesome. We've got one more question for you, Chris.
Yeah.
So we'll take it away.
So love asking this question. So I'm really curious about your answer here. If you were to go back 20 years, so that's 2006, what advice would you give yourself? What would you tell yourself 20 years ago?
Yes, 20 years ago, I was starting my career, right? And so I was a few months into this at this point. And so thinking of that, I was such a young engineer and not knowing what I don't know and stuff like that. But I would say get into rooms earlier that I didn't think I belonged in, just to be around people and learn. And also know that you're going to get bumps and bruises along the way, and that's fine. I think I had a mentality for a while of it's winning or losing, and I was scared to lose. But one of the guys in Vistage, I will give him credit for this. Same as Jerry, but it's not winning and losing, it's winning and learning. And if you lose, that means you didn't learn. And so don't lose. And so I think that's a mentality shift too. I would just tell myself, no, it's okay that you don't win at times. Just make sure you're learning from those opportunities as well, and just move on from it.
Really wise words. I like that.
Oh, yes.
Might be teaching that to my 3-year-old here.
I'll try and take some of these things and teach them to my kids as well. Yes.
That's the thing that becoming a parent makes you realize that like being a parent is like the ultimate leadership, like testing ground, because like, how do you get a human to develop into a great human? And it's like, you're trying to do that, except with people that are at the business, but it's like, yeah, but you don't have perhaps as many tools as you do with a child. Yeah, this has been awesome. If somebody wanted to get a hold of you, Chris, what's the best way for them to connect with you?
Yeah, so my email is csutton@sutton.engineering. So there's no .com on it, things like that. It's sutton.engineering. So that's my email address. Heck, you can just hit me up at my office number is 214-763-7300.
Awesome. And is there anything else you'd like to tell the people before we say goodbye?
No, this has been great. So I just thank y'all for the opportunity. It's been a pleasure getting to know you guys over the past several weeks. So thank you.
Yeah, no, we had a blast as well. Listeners, I hope you did too. And until next time, adios.
Adios.
Bye, guys.
Thanks for listening to Building Scale. To help us reach even more people, please share this episode with a friend, a colleague, or on social media.
Remember, the 3 pillars of scaling a business are people, process, and technology.
And our mission is to help the AEC industry protect itself by making technology easy.
So if you think your company's technology pillar could use some improvement, book a call with us to see how we can help maximize your IT and cybersecurity strategy. Just go to buildingscale.net/help.
And until next time,
Keep building scale.